Hello and welcome to the Mapper interview, where we are going to hear from a mapper as well as have a bit of a showcase of some of their tracks. And today I am talking to Chroma, who is kind of, I guess, sort of known as the FS guy.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So you are probably one of the more well-known full suite mappers. Like you had the Chroma's, what was it? It was Chroma's hideout and the different like Chroma's maps that are kind of very hard full speed ATs. You had the Chroma's Hell and Chroma's Void that are like these speed check maps, and then you've got your competition maps. And I guess like, how does your what do you think about these different styles of maps? Why do you like them?
What do I like building them or what do I like driving them or
Uh, let's go mostly with building,
mostly with building? Um,
but I guess driving is related, right?
yeah, somewhat. Uh, the hard AT stuff just comes from like a simple thing of me liking to drive my own maps. I've talked about this like a bunch. It's not like an ego thing or I wanna, you know, brag with how good I am at my own maps. It's just that I like playing them a lot, so why not take the best time I have, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, that's for like hideout and the other maps. Uh, the hell maps were really just a copy from like the idea of the name and the speed check thing was slightly copied from Diff's Hell. That's where the whole mapping thing, the whole name in the maps came from. Diff's Hell was like a just a normal full speed map, pretty much. That was slightly awkward, but had like a huge speed check at the end with those black rams into finish kind of thing.
and that was a TM2 map.
And yeah, it was TM2 map. It's pretty old. And it was kind of a meme back then. So I just copied that and I built Edge of Ishtal was like the first. It's like the prototype for Chroma Cell and Void and whatever. It was like basically the exact same thing as those maps, where it was just SD feature speed check, SD feature speed check. That was back in TM2, and then I just did the same thing with Chroma Cell and just named it that way, like to fully copy the thing.
Yeah, it's I guess kind of like one of the things about full speed as a style is you can make these more difficult tracks, and it's not really the same as trial in terms of building style, but you can get kind of the trial vibe, whereas with slower maps it's a lot harder to make it difficult to finish if you screw up a section. And you
Yeah,
mentioned sorry, do you want to say something?
I mean full speed is kind of the only style where that works.
Yeah.
In tech and like even ice, you get if you want to build a map like that where like with speed checks or whatever, it's just you're gonna drive not optimal lines to get those speed checks, and that just feels bad. But in full speed, it's mostly yeah,
Yeah, and I have some experience with building speed check maps in those other styles, especially like kind of like the speed tech and speed tech off-road adjacent stuff. And one of the problems that I always ran into, because I started doing that before building it with FS, was I would basically have to build one turn and then one speed check, because if I built a second turn before the speed check, then it wouldn't really matter what you did in the first turn, because
yeah,
in the whole difference with what full speed is it's all about maintaining your momentum through an entire track, and that's basically how we define it as a building style.
yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned TM2. You started playing with TM2, correct?
I started like try harding and getting good in TM2, but I've been playing for way longer than that.
Yeah, you're kind of been in the game a lot longer than I have. Mostly
Yeah, like
FS, right?
2005.
Oh wow, I didn't realize you were that OG. That's
I get. I mean, I was 4 years old when I
sure.
first played it,
I
like
feel
TM
like
original back then.
there's a surprising amount of Trackmania players who have just like been playing since they were like 5, or like
Yeah,
played when they were 5 and then came back, which is I guess more my situation. But like yeah, there's still like people like what's his name? The guy from Minnesota, Cybernetic, who's just been playing the
Mm,
game for extremely long time. Marius as well. People have just been around for 20 years, probably.
yeah, like playing it actively is rare that people keep it up, but I think a lot of people have been like me, where every time they see, oh, a new trackmania game came out, they play it like on and off every now and then if they're bored, and someday they just play a bit more and think,
Yeah.
yeah, might just main this.
For me, the main draw was mapping, obviously. I guess it's like full speed in general. I noticed that there's within full speed as a style, lot more there are a lot more players who are also mappers. Like the expert players are often also some of the, I suppose, expert mappers. And we used to see this with tech, but not really anymore. And definitely not with other styles now. I don't know what's going on with ice, but it does seem like there's a lot more, I guess, respect for building when it comes to the full speed community because of that. And you'll see people playing more tracks and I guess commenting on them and stuff. And I mean, you get the what's the old copy pasta, the congratulations, you made the worst map ever, hardest. You was supposed to, I bet you intended it to be impossible, but there you failed because I finished it or something like that. That's a,
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's another one somewhere. But I keep trying to find that one. Like, there's a second one that was even better. But I don't know where it was.
I don't remember all of them. I think a lot of them got purged from Team 2020 TMX as well
Yeah,
because
they
they were
did.
too toxic, I guess. There's some on Don't Fear though. That haven't been removed, which is kind of funny. But yeah, the whole FS as a building style, especially in terms of competition maps, has changed a lot since the days of Trackmania 2, and even in Trackmania 2 it was very different from TMNF. It's I haven't seen another building style change as much over the years. I'll probably like in post add in like some examples of TMNF maps and TM2 maps and TM2020 maps. Um, and I think a lot of this has to do with full speed being more equipped to use custom items in free mode in a way that makes sense on competitive maps. But I don't know. What do you think about the different full speed styles over the years?
Um, I think yeah, like the main style back like in TMNF. Let's say not like the really early ones because I have no clue about that, but it was a lot about maybe one SD and then precision nose light stuff, a few very easy features, where you just had to like min max every single millisecond of it. And as soon as like that was just the yeah, then it went to the start of TM2 where it became more SD heavy, um, but still like somewhat the same style. Then custom items came, and then it started to shift, mm, but pretty slowly. And then Firefox started using all those different blocks. I made a tweet about was it in response to Bluetick's tweet? I think uh, about like blocks that like one single trackmania block that made an impact, something like that, I think. And I used the slope to flat, like the S turn thingy,
The
because
one that
I
goes on the
think
S,
when
yeah, the platform one. I think I know
yeah,
the
yeah,
one. Yeah,
exactly, yeah, when I think like for me when that block was starting to get used in full speed maps in TM2, that's when like the more modern style started.
yeah. I remember that block has like pretty much even defined the full speed maps that I played in TM
Yep,
2020 and the ones that I've built. Like it's such a good block, which is kind of weird to say.
it is, it is.
Like how influential a single block has been. I haven't really thought about that, but yeah, it does kind of really signify like when we stopped going from SDing on flat surfaces and started going into more SDing on these twisty surfaces. And along with SDing on twisty surfaces, it became a lot more about, especially on the Firefox maps, these kind of you're driving in a line down a track your general direction is a straight line, but you do a bunch of zigzag SDs along that straight line
Yep.
before you get to the next feature, as opposed to some of the TMNF maps, which were often either not SDing or just making a full 90-degree turn or something.
Yeah, that's why the SD fests in like Team 2 early stuff were so prominent, is because at like later in the map, if you have fast speed anyway, you need like a huge turn, like because people didn't do the zigzag thing. You need a huge turn to make it with 800 plus speed. So it became like a 5 second SD every single time.
Yeah, you mentioned Firefox, who has I guess been he's pretty widely respected as one of the, if not the best, full speed competition mappers. But
Oh, it's the best by far.
yeah, everybody says that.
Objectively,
I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a huge opinion. I do enjoy his tracks a lot. I think they're great, but
I
I don't.
don't. But objectively, I gotta give it to him.
Yeah, I won't get into defining words like objectively. I'll refrain from doing that, even though I would like to. But how has Firefox like influenced your building? Even though I'm no, as you mentioned, you're not personally the biggest fan of his tracks.
I it's like a kind of two-edged thingy for me. I really appreciate and like the mapping part of it, but I'm just skill issued at them. I've never been good, like really good at a single Firefox map, so I avoid them if I can. It's a skill issue thing, honestly. But I definitely, I think every modern FS mapper has learned from Firefox,
I think
got
that's very
inspired by
true.
it.
And
Especially like every single twister just is like an evolution of something that Firefox did first, pretty much.
yeah, and
Not all, but most.
especially in Team 2020, we saw a lot in 2021, 2022, an explosion of different features that were being made. Like we had access to more custom blocks over that time, as well as people were experimenting more with free mode in Team 2020, which I guess to some extent started with me and entry lag. I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of my perspective, but it's certainly a biased one. And along with
Spaghetti.
sorry,
Spaghetti.
spaghetti. Yeah, the
I
spaghetti.
started it all.
I'm gonna have to put spaghetti on screen, but this is a good example of when people started building a lot more weird features where for a long time it was kind of a game of okay, well, how can we use these blocks that are just like these kind of abstract shapes and create a wall ride loopy thing out of them that will be kind of weird to drive. And I feel like that's where FS mapping was for a while, but we've kind of gone past that. There hasn't really been as many of those discovered, and some people have said that that's kind of like indicated a that full speed mapping is not evolving as much as it was before. And I guess it's like not evolving as much as it once was, but I'm not sure if that was really the most sustainable process. Like at some point, the features start becoming a bit less drivable and a bit more like, okay, this is interesting that it exists.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, I think it was certainly a a change and it evolved, but not in a good way. People just started building, like having a contest with each other to build the most dank, weird feature twister. When all that started, it was like really bad for like half a year, and it just became most of those features were pretty much PF. If you have the right entry line, it's just PF. And it looked cool, of course. It was very impressive, the mapping behind it, but it's not interesting to drive for me.
yeah, I
I
mean,
think that's usually like there. Of course, there can be maps where that's like the whole theme of it, to build like super cool roller coaster new stuff. Yeah. Um, but now that a lot of it has been done already, and it's going to be harder and harder to build new stuff. I think we're on on the edge of a new change. We're seeing, especially in competitive maps, we're seeing more and more transitional,
yeah,
more technical stuff, and I think that's perfect.
I do like transitional maps, especially full speed. So I do like that direction that we're going, and I found that a lot of full speed maps in competitions are extremely difficult right now. You mentioned the old Firefox maps just in general being hard, but I feel like a 2022 Firefox map was easy compared to FMS maps from the last season, for example. But maybe that's
Um,
just maybe I'm just wrong.
to drive, yeah. To drive well, I think Firefox maps always had parts that are incredibly difficult to like max out. But the maps nowadays are just hard by default, like to finish.
Perhaps that's what
I
I'm
think that's just
experiencing.
yeah. It's also just because uh the top has just gotten better and better and better within the years. So I feel like most competitive maps are just made for like the top 20 players.
Yeah, the
They enjoy it and driving on it, but everyone else is kind of yeah.
the difficulty of the maps has certainly scaled with the skill of the players, and you mentioned the difficulty to just like drive the map at a the skill floor on the maps has gone up, and
Yeah.
I do think that when the skill floor goes up on a map, it obviously disproportionately affects people who are worse at the game. Like if you're good enough, then you won't even notice that the skill floor is there. But if you're not at that level, then you're gonna have to play the map for a while in order to get it right. And perhaps I'm just not quite good enough, even though I feel like I'm pretty decent at full speed. But your TM 2020 maps, you were mostly I guess you were the SD fest as people called it guy for a while. It felt like where you just had these maps with like really fast, really big SDs, and I guess over time you've built less and less of those.
I mean, I could still build them very quickly. That's the best thing about those. It's very easy to build if you're good at full speed. But I don't map much anymore as I've did back then. So like I don't know when the last time was that I built an actual not competitive or not for like a campaign or an event. Like just build a map. It's been ages.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of mappers can relate to that.
But yeah, I did build. It was way less SD Fest in TM 2020 than I did in TM2 though. Like I have a lot of maps on TM2 and like 90% of them are just pure SD Fest.
Yeah, and I guess you mentioned that Firefox has kind of been influential on everyone's mapping, which is true. But I guess who would you say, or what are the maps that you would say that really felt like you took inspiration from them in your own building, that they kind of changed how you built
Um Specific maps is gonna
maps
be
or general like kinds of maps or mappers? I guess we already went over
mm,
like the taxonomy of full speed maps, so
yeah. I mean entry like for the more beginner maps, of course. Um I don't know, it's tough to say because you take like one thing that you see and you like change it up. But it's not really like one specific map or specific
yeah.
maps. Hmm.
I mean, I guess kind of an adjacent question, and I suppose we already went over it to some extent, but like, what are your favorite maps? Because I'm gonna have a bit of a section at the end of the video where there will be a render of like some of your maps and any other maps that are relevant. But what would you say are, I guess, your favorite tracks that other people have built as well as your own?
As well as my own.
Yeah, so
Um,
give a list of both.
a list of both. Oh boy.
Or, well, you can name as many or as few as you want. But I feel like this will be an interesting thing to just like contextualize the yapping.
Okay, so for my favorite competitive maps, I gotta give it to Alan Died and Path of Pain. Alan Died by Mayonnaise and Path of Pain by Switch. I think those are my favorite comp maps in the game. Um, for track of the day, that was I keep forgetting the name of it. Hmm.
Is it? It's got to be Hyperion, Scopium.
I even if I couldn't give it to it just because the cover of the day final haunts me to this day. That was bad.
And before both go for backward spout, that would be a meme final because they haven't practiced it. Like this is a 103 low, but no mistakes happen. So it's gonna be the predicted final: Chroma versus Kirill. Good luck to both. May the best evil player win. Speed matters a lot here. Speed is everything, not really the splits. First wall ride, I think Chroma's slightly faster. $861. Kirill tends to beat that. Who's fastest? Chroma's fastest by a little bit. Like 1 speed lead here. Oh my god, they're hitting 990! Kirill, I think, hit max speed there. Chroma's trying, but it's 500s. They're both going for the risky. But they have no idea how to do it because they didn't practice it. Kirill's going for the safe again. Chroma is going for the risky again. Oh no. Oh no, it's a clown fiesta. I wonder if they agreed to both do it. Kirill's flipping out, respawning. Chroma going for the risky route. This is Cup of the Day final. We have one player upside down on the grass. We have another still going for the risky route. Chroma. Chroma on the transition. Does he read this in time? Okay, gets it right. Now the last jump. He has no idea how to do this, I bet. But he gets it and wins Division 1 with a 1:28.17. I forgot that I can't drive the risky route. I can't turn off my acceleration macro mid-run. That's when you know you're dealing with a real full speed player. If they bind a macro that always holds down forwards, instead of actually pressing the button themselves. That's a real full speed player.
I guess like gimmick has to be there. The amount of time I spend on that, it's just like the beginner full speed map for me in my eyes. And yeah, it's like every time someone asks me for a map that they can play if they're just learning full speed, I recommend that for SDs, especially the tutorial as well. And there's is super good.
Yeah, Gimmick
Shortz also really good.
Gimmick has a whole tutorial on it, correct? Like for
yeah,
did like the media tracker to have the whole setup.
Pretty good. Let me think. That was comp maps and beginner maps. What else?
Ski freak maps, of course. That's the last category.
Wait, let me actually open your.
No, you don't have to.
I will. I'm opening. It's.
Oh no.
Wait, how do you look for author?
I mean, there is I do distinctly remember a certain TMX comment from you on one, the Great Yonder, that said that it was the most impressive project in the game.
Well, it was at that point in time.
But yeah, sorry for derailing this slightly, but what about your tracks?
My tracks. Oh boy. First things first, out of the way. I honestly, every time someone asks me about my favorite maps from myself, the first maps I think about are actually 2 tech maps. I'm not joking. It's Apotheosis and Gloom. I maybe it's just because it's a style that I, had to like work to learn to map, and I think those turned out really good for that. But yeah, for FS maps, I think. See, most people would expect that I'd say like Hideout, but I only did the route on Hideout, but and that route it's just very mid. It's okay, it's decent beginner map, but it's just nothing special.
I do have some to say about Hideout if we want to pause here and talk about Hideout, or if you want to continue.
Let's talk about Hideout after.
Okay.
Purgatory 1, without the cut, is probably one of maybe the most favorite map I've ever built.
I'm gonna pull that one
Like
up.
minus the cut, sadly.
Because Purgatory was it was kind of a full speed map, Chroma's Purgatory, and it had basically a bunch of shortcuts that were like either through that were somewhat hidden and usually involved like a certain amount of speed or precision. And I don't know if there's is there a GPS on the map? There's like a hidden GPS. Where is it?
Yeah, it's under the first jump.
And this is a track that, so it has all the cuts, right? And
Yep.
that's just kind of it was an extremely unique concept. Like you can see that the scenery is all of these rocks, and they kind of hide the cuts. And this was something that you did build the scenery on yourself. So, and this was a concept that a lot of people really liked when it was track of the day, and it's understandable why. I quite like it as well. Honestly, I like the Purgatory 2 more personally, but
And I think the cuts on 1 are like more creative, and I think the cuts on 1 have like more of a wow factor the first time you see them.
perhaps.
But maybe it's just nostalgia because that was the first time that I did it.
Yeah, I mean,
Might just be.
whenever you have a concept like this, the first one is always like, it sticks out more in everyone's mind because it's the first to do it.
Yeah. Also, I always like to point out with this map that probably the main reason why I got the idea is Medic. Because he was in my stream and he pointed out that you might be able to cut a tube on a Darien map, I think it was, that I was playing at the time. And then I tried it, it worked, and I thought, what if you just did that intentionally?
I think I was there for that cut actually, but I can barely remember it. That was but yeah, tube cuts are sometimes they're surprisingly not as scuffed as you expect.
Oh yeah, Medic found the stone at the start as well. That you can drive on that.
Oh, the stone,
kinda
yeah,
funny.
the stone is funny.
Yeah. There's one beautiful Trillix clip of that stone.
I'll have to find it. You'll have to send it to me.
It's beautiful. If someone has the link, please send it. I'm looking for it as well.
But yeah, this map it ended up getting cut. This is one of the many Chroma track of the days which have a shortcut.
Yeah. This one really broke me, but it is what it is.
It's very
The
unfortunate.
first one always hurts the most.
And it wasn't with, well, it was a respawn route cut, but it wasn't a respawn route cut in the way that you normally see it on full speed track of the days. It was you just kind of drive off for the respawn route boosters from the normal route, which is rather funny and rather sad. But did you have any other tracks to list off, or can we talk about Hideout?
I'd say for my favorite comp map that I've built, let me actually look through. Well, I like Amogus. Amogus is good.
Oh, I actually like that map a lot.
Yeah, it was very different from my other maps. I still like Rio a lot. The FSL map. I think it's very solid. It's also one of my. I think that and Amogus are like the only non-duo maps I have in comps.
Yeah, a lot of
Most of them would be with other people together.
Yeah, duo mapping is like, I don't think that it really gets talked about that much, so maybe we want to talk about it a little bit like.
Note it down for later.
Yeah.
Pause.
Do you have any other maps list?
And for scenery, honestly, maybe the new one, the seconds to go one. I think I did pretty well on that.
Oh, I actually really, really like that scenery. That's one of my favorite sceneries that I've seen. Let me pull it up. It's we had the Seconds to Go campaign recently, which is a campaign with 25 maps, and map 1 is 1 second, and map 2 is 2 seconds, and so on until you get to 25. And Chroma did map 13, and it's got this theme with the pentagrams and the 13 and the floating devils. I love this. Looks like
Oh, you want me to ruin it? You want me to ruin it for you?
Yes, is it
Look at look
asymmetrical?
look no. Look at wait, actually I don't know if I've seen this one. Wait, no, he has like insane two-wheeler seats at the end. I saw it.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
we're just
Um
watching the reference on
no,
the map.
on the pentagrams, look at the top left like star sign, or is that what they are? I think it is. Look at them from this look at it from the side. I did not bother to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all somewhat like this, but you know, there's only so much
No,
you
no,
can do.
no, 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 not
Oh,
the edges, the
sorry.
star sign, like the symbol, the top left symbol. If you look in from front, and then
Hmm.
look at it from the side.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's
anyway,
all below.
this is a very cool scenery. It uses the light items in this kind of pentagram macro block. I don't know. It's just like I really like when people build these themed sceneries that have a very clear theme and then just go for it and see how it turns out. And I think it turned out really nicely.
Thank you. What I don't like about this map is that it looks pretty bad for people with low shaders or some setting that makes the like water block that I use for the sides and for the bottom, it makes it look like really foggy and whitish. Sometimes like very graphic dependent, sadly.
Weird. This is looking kind of weird.
Oh, wait, what? Why is there another thing that I missed?
These arrows are kind
Oh
of
no 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 no.
wonky. Oh no, we're just we're finding all the tiny errors on this scenery now.
Now look at the first pentagram and look bottom left.
Okay,
There's also a thing I missed. Oh
bottom
no.
left.
It's on the right one. It's on the right one.
Oh,
Like on the right symbol and then look at it from the side. On one of the pentagrams. The top right one. Okay, you just like
oh,
okay,
I.
some people in the chat.
Okay,
I
that's
saw
fine.
that like halfway through the map, building the map, and I never bothered to fix it.
That's hilarious. All right, do we have any other specific chroma tracks that we want to look at?
Let me look through my TMX.
I remember there was
Oh,
when you started streaming, because you started streaming, you made the map that was all one SD that was in just like a big spiral. I thought that was funny.
oh yeah, I never finished that.
Yeah, I don't think it ever
But
got
yeah, I
uploaded.
mean, it's it's so bad to drive. It's just a one. It's just the entry check, and then I don't know, get through it. It's really bad.
What do you think about streaming mapping actually? I've streamed mapping somewhat. I think you have as well. Like, what do you think about it? Because I have thoughts on streaming mapping. What do you think?
Uh, wait, last map. CCC project. That one.
Ah,
That I like that one as well a lot. Especially like mostly because of the scenery where I filled out the whole stadium with the grass blocks. That took so long, and I don't know. I'm really happy about it.
CCC was a classic. I hope we see CCC 3 at some point.
I mean Goliath as well, of course. If we talk about CCC, also good.
But yeah, streaming mapping.
Stream mapping. It depends, honestly. Starting a new map on stream is probably better for the viewing experience, but you can get blocked so quick.
Yeah.
Like building, I've spent like I don't know 3 hours trying to build a start and kept deleting it on stream, and that's just not content, is it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, streaming mapping just doesn't, it's not compatible with the way I map, which is map until I get stuck and then watch YouTube or something, and then try
Yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly.
And it's like,
And that's how I play TM mostly as well.
yeah,
Like that's how I hunt maps. I drive a few runs, and then if I crash like a good run, I watch YouTube for a bit, watch streams. I don't know.
get the old map, then yap, then map.
Yep.
And it's also like, it feels like when you're streaming mapping, you feel obligated to be mapping at all times in a way, but that's also not really how it works. I feel like sometimes you just kind of want to sit there and drive the map over and over, stare at it or something, or just like think about something else for a moment. And when you're streaming, it feels like you
Mm-hmm.
want to always be doing something, you know,
I agree.
which is unfortunate because I do think that I do like watching mapping streams. I think some people do. Like, I don't know.
The only thing that I don't like about watching mapping streams is that I become an annoying backseater.
Same. I kind of feel bad sometimes, but I don't know. I try to limit my backseating to like mentioning specific blocks occasionally, but you know,
Yeah,
especially
like,
if I see
every
Nick
time-
Exotica building on stream, I'm just totally backseating him.
I have the urge sometimes to, if I just keep myself from backseating, that I want to rebuild the route on my own editor and then try out what I think.
I've done that before. Oh no.
Oh god, I never did.
I'm too far gone.
Fair enough, fair enough.
But yeah, you mentioned a lot of some of your maps are like let's talk about Chroma's Hideout.
Hideout?
Yeah, so Chroma's Hideout, it was a track that was a duo track. You mentioned like a lot of your tracks are duo tracks. For me, it's the case as well, just because of scenery, and scenery mapping is, we can
Yeah.
talk about scenery mapping as well if you want. But yeah,
I don't mind.
Hideout is I'll agree with the assessment that the route is like kind of mid. Zfos did like some really cool scenery on here. The AT was pretty hard. Do we want to talk about the 92 days?
My guy said pretty hard. Oh, it's just pretty hard, not much.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Pretty easy, honestly.
Pretty easy. Yeah, probably Josh will say it's pretty easy at this point.
Yeah,
How many people have it now?
92 days. And that was just mostly the video and me being lazy, no?
Yeah, it was just funny because we were,
It's still stupid that you won with a 92 tag.
yeah,
Did you have it on?
yeah. I had the 92 tag on. It was pretty amusing. Like we were counting down the days because you were taking, like, Zfos had finished the scenery on this map 92 days before it was released in Track of the Day, because of the waiting for the video and the AT for you to make those. And this was back when, like, me, Zfos, Entralag, and a few others were like really consistently in the voice chat. So we were kind of joking about how it's been this many days, it's been this many days, and eventually when it Entralag, he made a club tag, so like you can have the club tag show up in game. And he had the club tag, and it was just like the club tag was counting down days, so the day was like day 92. And when it was Track of the Day on day 92, it was me, Don't Care, CD, Zfos, and Entry were streaming the Cup of the Day with the day 92 tag, and we were trying to see if any of us could win with the day 92 tag, just to kind of get a kind of a jab in at you. And I won the Cup of the Day. That's my only Cup of the Day win. And I did it with
It's
the
very
92.
sad that there's no recording of that, like, fully.
Yeah, we don't have the full VOD because DC didn't save the full VOD, but we do have the clip of the last round at least, so it's unfortunate, but
Yeah, I'm trolling, kind of.
I think it's not us, actually.
Oh, that's
so
close.
Oh,
Jan dead. Ski freak.
Full
Safe.
Full save.
He crashed.
he DNF'd.
Oh, you're good. GG.
We didn't say finish.
What if he DNFs? Who wins? Ski freak?
Whoever won the last round.
Oh. Day 95. Suck.
There's also a clip of the Cup of the Morning, or I think Cup of the Night, actually. Cup of the Night final. Good one.
I'm not familiar with that
I
one.
think it was Chriso, the Royal Andy, that streamed it, and I played it in the night, and the final was me versus AR Down, and I gave him a 0.3, 0.4 head start, and I still won.
That's funny. I was not aware of that.
Give you head start? Oh god. Like, this is gonna be good. Is he actually gonna give him a head start? That's funny as fuck. Surely. He is. What was it? About a few tenths? Not sure exactly how much it was. 3 tenths, okay. We've got a race. Down v Chroma. Chroma giving Down the head start here. Trying to get these SDs to catch up. Down looks like he has slightly low speed. Chroma already gaining a lot. Not even halfway through the track now, and Chroma's SDs absolutely blitzing the track. Look at the speed through the wall ride. Already ahead of Down. And Chroma just pulling away, holding that speed through the entire map. Better lines, better SDs, and the mapper showing that it is definitely his hideout. And boom. Still a 46-7.
But yeah, this is
It's a good clip. It's a good clip.
it's kind of a special map in terms of like the scenery, right? But also I think it's very indicative of a certain thing that CD mentioned at some point that I wanted to say as well, which is, and we can watch the intro, and I mean we can watch the intro. Intruder alerts detected. Finally, let them in.
It's edgy as fuck, but it's so good. You can't deny it. It's so good.
I love that some of your maps are just like the Chroma on the moon that Banshee did. Oh, yeah, I believe it.
It's
intro is made
amazing.
by
It's
Banshee,
amazing.
and
Yeah, it is.
it's like this kind of ironic edginess that some of these maps
Yeah.
have, and it's so good. I really like it. It's just the how unserious it is while trying to be edgy. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like me fully leaning into the whole like
Ego
Chroma, hard AT, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, to some extent, making a hard AT is kind of an ego trip in a way, because like you make your hard AT and then you see if like people have a hard time beating, you're like, I'm good. But
Yeah. Like I said, I just like playing my own maps, but of course it's like
I also like playing my own maps, but I think we're kind
it's
of weird in that regard.
it's a lot of it is also just like the map gets more attention if
Yeah.
the AT is hard.
Especially, that was one of the things about the old hard AT track of the days. It was for a long time the only way to make your track kind of relevant long term was to make a hard AT, and then people would care about it after the day that it's track of the day. But maps generally have like a real shelf life in terms of like if after it leaves track of the day, it's just like nobody's gonna play them. And after the hard AT thing has like kind of died down, partially due to Nadeo's actions, there's not really any way for maps to be relevant long term. And I don't know, it's just kind of all map tracks are kind of extremely disposable at this point. Although to be fair, FS is kind of better in that regard because people will go back and hunt the old FMS tracks. I don't know. What do you think about the disposability of tracks in that regard?
I think the hard AT rule that it can't be too hard is a bad choice in general, but I do agree that it got to a bad point. It
Yeah.
got really bad with every single track that they having a cooked AT, which is just bad for the casual players, right?
I mean, personally, my I guess general author time philosophy is that I want the AT to be a real time set by the author. That should be their PB at the time of the map release, and as long as that's the case, I'm kind of happy. But speaking more, I guess, holistically, as the ATs got harder in track of the day over time, it felt like different, I guess, demographics of players were able to enjoy the completionist aspect of going for all of them. Like I remember back in the day, back before like even before Viridescent AT and such, Stocks and Bonds was going for all ATs, and Stocks and Bonds is like okay player. He's like kind of casual. He doesn't play really much anymore, but people who were like just kind of playing the game, getting like top few hundred or something, were able to go for all author times, and there were just like some like top 50 ones occasionally. But as time went on, there were more and more of these ones that were just like really nearing on impossible, and you had to get like within like 0.1 of like world record. And at that point, like very few people are really able to engage in the completionist aspect of it anymore. So I don't really want to go on too long about author times, but it's kind of a somewhat complex what's going on there. And it kind of is what it is, I suppose. To me, I really just wish Nadea would add some kind of eternal leaderboard for user maps that can just exist forever, so that tracks are able to sort of exist long term and have people play them and care about them.
Yeah, true. I mean, what I wait, did Nadeo not like walk back a bit? There was a bunch of hard ATs recently, no?
I think they
Like harder
partially
at
walked it
least?
back, but I don't know. It's a little weird trying to guess at Nadeo's intentions there, so I'm not gonna bother to take
Yeah.
time doing it right now. It's just too hard to guess with limited information. So with Chroma's hideout being scenery built by ZFOS, I don't know. What do you think about scenery mapping? I feel like this is kind of a thing that a lot of mappers are. You either love it or hate it. What do you think about scenery mapping?
I like it sometimes. I hate it the other times. I really, really enjoy scenery mapping on non-full speed maps. Full speed is just really difficult to do because you have to build so much, I think. But I really do enjoy scenery mapping on tech and maybe other styles, but I really build much of
Yeah,
those.
personally, I mean, FS scenery is like kind of very different in that way, but I really only really like doing scenery on like short maps, like my 24-second map for the Seconds to Go campaign, just because it feels like I can build one or two iterations of or three iterations of my idea and then be done with it, and I don't have to like, okay, here's my idea. Now I'm gonna have to spend hours continuing it throughout the rest of the track. And I guess full speed is just like kind of a continuation of that, because like you're going fast, you take up more space, and then there's just even more blocks that you have to place if you want to build too much scenery. Unless you just want to do the classic Blutig scenery of the floating cubes. I love the floating cubes. You have floating cube
I
enjoyer?
can't even do that anymore. I can't even build like the Chroma scenery, boutique scenery, whatever. Like I didn't even on Chroma Cell or some other maps. I just like when I actually start building scenery and putting time into it, I just overdo it every single time. That's why also my comp maps also suffered from that a bit.
Yeah,
I
I think
always have weird comp scenery.
it's kind of hard to like commit to a certain level of scenery, and once you build a lot of scenery in one spot, it feels weird to not build more scenery in the rest. Personally, I guess what I tend to do is like I start off with if I want to build more minimal scenery, I start off with a kind of approach of, all right, maybe some of these turns the only scenery is just going to be like some flags or a floating ring, and that'll be it, and that's just fine. But
Classic.
yeah, that's kind of
Floating rings.
the old scenery dings. But yeah, a lot of I guess like something that might be interesting for like people who are newer to full speed or trackmania mapping is, I think a lot of people who start getting into mapping and full speed, it's how hard is it to learn to build FS maps?
I mean, it depends on what you want to achieve. Building a beginner-friendly full scene map does not take too much, like Track of the Day style even. It might not be the most innovative, whatever, impressive map, but building a beginner full scene map is not that hard really. It's just that you need someone to test it for you if you're not a good full scene player. It will always be like that until you're a good full scene player. Otherwise, the map will be pretty bad.
Yeah, it's one of those styles where the faster you go, it's a bit harder to predict how much faster players will be and account for that in your mapping. So it does kind of have a bit more of a punishing aspect in terms of you as a player needing to be able to drive well in order to make a track that is going to drive well for that upper echelon of players. But I guess there's something to be said for the idea that not every map has to be perfect for top players, and a lot of people do play on the FS beginner server is where the most played full speed maps have been. Like just historically, that's just the case, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't think you need to be extremely good in order to build a map that goes on there, and a lot of the maps on there aren't like the best calculation. So I would say give FS mapping a try if you can, but definitely focus on the lines that are fast and try to keep in mind
You
like
can,
what
of
lines are
course, you
creating most
can.
speed.
Like the best thing you could do is add like
Add a booster.
when you test, add a booster. Either like best thing you can do is ask someone to test your map in progress, and then send you a replay, see how much speed they have, and then
True, that's a good idea.
build a booster accordingly. That's like how you can
It's actually a really good
be
idea.
somewhat sure.
Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I think I've seen some people do that. Or you can just do the classic, and I think Entry like did that back then, and just add like 2 or 3 more platforms to the turn on the side.
Yeah. Entry also had the trick of those item boosters. If you go into the Nadeo item folders, the official items, there will be these like little booster beam bars things, and those will give you like 20 speed or something. So you can just use that and place one of those here and there, and then you'll kind of get up to speed and see what faster players are going to be experiencing to a greater extent.
But for non-beginner stuff, I think full speed is like the hardest style to build, because you like transitional, advanced, even competitive. Like building a decent competitive map is, I think, one of the hardest things in like mapping in general. Building a decent competitive full speed map, you need to be a decent competitive full speed driver and know how like every single block works with every single line that you want to choose into what feature, into don't make this SD too long, don't make this transition short, make it consistent. It's so much stuff to think about, and then making it interesting while doing that is so difficult.
Yeah, it's I haven't really done too much comp mapping, but my map was denied from FMS, so I suppose I'm just kind of skill issued in that regard. I think my map is okay, but I guess there's just better maps.
I've tried so long to get one into a competitive map since TM2. I mean, I sent in for 2018 TMO. I sent in like 6 SD Fest that TK got to test. He was very happy about that. They made the deadline longer back then because they had a shortage of maps, even though I already sent in 5 maps and I wrote into the Discord that I can send on in a 6th one, like 5 people that were on tester team flamed me to not send in an SD Fest again.
Yeah, it takes
And I
time.
didn't. The 6th one was they said it was better, but of course it was still not in. I think was my first comp map actually Bloom? I think it was Bloom.
Was it Bloom? Wow. It's on Team 2020 map.
I think so.
Yeah, it just takes time to be good at anything, I guess, is the thing. And there's one thing that to do with FS that I am very interested in, and I want to, I guess, get you to talk about a little bit, which is just fearing.
Fearing?
Yeah.
Fearing.
Give me a fearing yapping.
Fearing yapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. How many people actually play that?
Like
Like
you and 3 other
10?
people.
I don't know. It's just so niche. I mean, there's like zero market for it. It's like the exact same thing as comp mapping. Like you need to be good at it. You need to like it to like do it to yourself. And I think the only other thing that it's good for is stream challenges and content. That's really good. Can be a really nice stream to try to finish one of those maps. And I guess for Echoes of Time, whatever you're releasing next, it's gonna pull a few in again. Like it did with Dread Return, right? That was like a lot of people played that.
Yeah, Dread Return was the original, and that one wasn't really FS. So the more recent one was Don't Fear with Don't Care.
Yeah, true. A lot of people also played that.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be clear, what we mean by fearing is like these long full speed maps. I guess are kind of like descendant from Deep Fear in terms of just like long hard checkpoints, sort of like full speed trial. Tends to be fast and transitional with some stunts. Would you consider making one of them ever? I know you've built like transitional occasionally. Like transitional full speed is kind of an entirely different style of full speed as well. And like there's I guess the slow transitional, like you get the stuff like Simos maps, which are almost like completely disconnected from the rest of FS building. And then you've got like the faster transitional maps that are like more in line with the competition maps or fearing maps.
I mean, I did the 2 minute 30 whatever, the
Yeah,
FFS, the Mounting Dread, I think.
yeah,
it's
Mounting
called.
Dread. I enjoyed that map. Maybe I'm just like too
It has
much
a
of
few
a
issues, but it's pretty much the only like full transitional map I did. That's a
sure.
bit longer. I really enjoy building it. I just never got around to like trying to make a longer map and like do it again, I guess. But it's also like every time I look at your fearing stuff and other parts in those maps, I don't think I'd ever like even get close to the ideas that you guys like, I don't know, pull out of the air.
I mean, a lot of them are just like kind of. I appreciate the comment, and I do think it's somewhat true. But I also like to note that a lot of them are kind of derivative of other things that I've seen, either directly or indirectly. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the same way. It's like, okay, well, oh my gosh, somebody built a track, and it's like I would have never come up with this. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people can relate to that if they're watching like Simos maps. Like I don't know, it's a lot of very creative things on those tracks. And I guess that's partially why I'm drawn to them as someone who's like mostly interested in mapping and to some extent enjoy the one shot type of.
Well, what was the map called that I built a small part for?
Oh, nothing to fear but fearing itself is the current working name.
See that for example, I'm pretty sure like I dragged down the average quality on that. I mean, it's okay, but it's like in comparison to everything else on that, it's
Nah, don't
I
worry.
don't know.
That whole map is like a little scuffed. I'll probably release it soon without scenery. I was just like building the respawn routes on it earlier today.
Nice.
But yeah, let me just check my lists if I have anything else. Oh, what do you think are like the most important things for like a map or a full speed map to have to like be good? I know in the past you've talked about like flow being very important and
Oh yeah, in the
obviously
Veritas video I did that. Yeah.
yeah.
I still like I said two things in the Veritas documentary thing that I still very much stand by is uh flow and intuition,
Yeah.
which are both things that again you have to be like a decent player to understand those. But yeah, like flow intuition with flow I just mean if you're on a good run on your map that it doesn't like it feels like a continuous I don't know, dance sounds kind of cringe, but it just feels like one singular motion through the map. That's kind of the best way I can describe flow. I think the best flowy map I've built is Crimson 2. I think that map has issues, but if you get a good run, it feels so smooth.
I think a lot of people can relate to that being even subconsciously something that is possibly one of the most important factors in like whether they enjoy a track of any style is just like whether they kind of feel that flow state, I suppose. And
Mhm.
if you're this kind of goes back to the skill floor thing. If you're below the skill floor, you're just not going to get into that. And I think that's why a lot of worse players don't really enjoy my tracks, for example, because they're unable to really experience the flow that I find in them. And I think that can be true for a lot of higher difficulty full speed maps, where a lot of newer players are going to much more gravitate towards, even like intermediate players gravitate towards a very different kind of full speed track than someone who's as good as you, and you're going to enjoy probably different
For
maps
sure.
than me even.
For intuition, it's also like pretty weird to explain, but every time you come out of a feature, even though it's the same feature, depending on what comes before, you might feel like your car wants to go a different way.
Sure.
Uh, like if you let's say you have like a left SD into a reverse turnover, then more often than not you want to exit to the left
Yeah, and
most of the time.
those are just kind of things
Yep.
that you just get a feel for over time, and it's hard to even like. I'm sure you could do an analysis like if we were to look at a replay and like describe exactly why that is, but
hmm
it to some degree it's just kind of this esoteric knowledge that you acquire over time, It's just like, yeah, this is how it feels. It's like the sky is blue and you want to drive to the left after this. It's like it's like
It's
this
kind of the
weird,
same thing as flow
yeah,
in a sense. Like I just said, the example with if you have a left SD into a reverse turn, you might want to exit left. If you have a zigzag SD and the last one is a left SD, you might want to exit right because it continues the zigzag motion.
sure.
And all those kind of things can lead, like how steep do you exit a wall right? Do you want to like do a right SD out of a wall right that goes to left, like hang in there, hang in the quarter pipe, or do you want to do a hard left steer out of it? It's like if you get like better at full speed, you will feel that as well. This can be subjective though. Some people might feel different about it.
Yeah, and I mean nobody has like a list of rules for this kind of thing. It's just kind of this weird association of different things.
Yeah.
And
One thing
good.
also in like with the tips for new mappers is that I can't mention often enough. Just get someone to test.
Yes.
There's so many people in the FS fam Discord or in any other full speed Discords that you can ask. Or even if nobody answers there, just DM people. More often than not, they will for sure be nice about it if they don't want to do it. And a lot of times you will get someone to test your route.
Yeah, everybody
And that can help
DM
so
Chroma
much.
with your full speed tracks and ask him to play your tracks on
Most
stream.
of the time, if people DM me and ask me to test a route, I do it. Maybe not in a few hours after messaging me, but in a few days.
I try to test most of the maps I get sent. I probably shouldn't be saying this here, but it usually just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment and whether I remember to look at the message again the next day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens.
I think you're pretty similar in that regard, but I guess one last thing is do you have any like random mapping soapboxes that you just wanna say something about mapping that you want people to know?
But mapping as a whole.
Mapping, full speed, whatever you want, trackmania, just anything that you want to say.
Remove the other cars except for Stadium. That's a stupid fucking opinion, but I just ignore them. But okay, remove them from the Nadeo campaign.
anything
That's maybe a better thing.
anything less about Nadeo and more about mapping or driving.
More about, I mean, it's Nadeo mapping.
I mean, we can
It's still
criticize
mapping.
Nadeo all day. It's like kind of a bottomless pit there. Like but it's not the most interesting, you know?
Yeah. I don't know how to form this. Try other things, maybe. No, I don't mean like try being the most creative thing and build the most dank stuff. I mean, if you build only full speed, go build a tech map for fun. Good things come of that, not just for your mapping skill, but for your driving skill, for everything. Maybe you enjoyed it a lot. I had a really good time building other styles when I tried the first time and failed horribly and got flamed for it, and then I got better and it was like a really good feeling. Like just if you're a one style only mapper, just try to build something else just for fun. And one other thing, last thing, stop, please, for the love of God, stop building Alternadeo.
No more Nadeo. Okay, I can get behind that. And sorry, what was the second to last thing that you said? I had something to add on to that.
Try building other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a good idea, and I would say if you are going to build other styles, maybe don't try building mix before you build the things that go into the mix track. I see that a lot where people want to build mix,
That's a good tip. That's a good tip.
they don't understand tech on its own. They don't understand dirt on its own, and they don't understand grass on its own. But they want to make a map that contains all of them, and that's just going to be harder. You're going to end up with basically a map that's all about the transitions between the surfaces. And I guess that's my advice for branching out in styles. And I don't know, I quite like building in different styles. I think it's like something that if you like mapping, you'll probably like mapping in other styles as well. But you know, maybe you won't. But it's worth a try.
You can also fix your mapping block for the main style you're building if you just build something else.
True, that's a big reason why I was building all these fearing maps for a long time. It's like probably like an hour of full speed tracks like combined, and it's like just so you know, it's such a different thing. Just having that like very different thing that you can go to and build that's like very different from what you were building before is just it's very nice.
Yep.
And I guess one more mapping PSA, like we were talking about it right beforehand, but when you're going from jumping from the exit of a wall ride and you're landing in a quarter pipe like later, so you jump off of the out of the wall ride and landing in a quarter pipe, add the rounded block, you know, the inside out cake blocks. If you're at the level where you know what any of this is and it matters,
I hope Mayo is still listening.
then you'll know what the inside out cake blocks are, and you want to put the round one there so that it's not clippy, because the actual distance that you drift away from the wall ride block is slightly inconsistent, and there's not really a good visual indication either of where you're supposed to aim. So I think we were both talking about this before, that we both agree on this, so you know, just do that. But yeah, I guess I'll close it out by I'm gonna have I guess a showcase of some of your tracks. I'll have a thing rendered for it at the end here, because that's like part of the whole idea here is I preserve your thoughts on mapping and some of your tracks. And I guess do you have anything else to say before we go?
Do I like the Ice Bucket Challenge nominate the next interview guy, or?
Oh, maybe you can do that if you want.
I nominate Blutig because he's in chat.
Okay, Blutig, you're apparently up next, so I hope you enjoy that. But yeah, thanks for talking. Chroma is, we'll have a link to his Twitch channel in the description, I guess.
Thank you for having me.
But yeah, thanks for talking. Thanks for talking about your maps. I hope I didn't talk too much here, but I think this was hopefully gonna give people some interesting thoughts on full speed mapping. I think usually whenever I upload these videos about talking about mapping, people always talk about like, oh, there's a lot here that I hadn't considered, and it's a lot of newer mappers. And I think just having a conversation like this will also just like do a good job of like introducing a depth of knowledge to people that usually just ends up being random discussions between mappers.
For sure.
But yeah, thanks, and goodbye.
Bye bye.